Hey guys, welcome back to today's news update. We have some Dying Light 2 information, some Days Gone, some Pokemon Go, and some more. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna try and wrap this up as quickly as possible, but I thought today's information was quite good, so let's just get straight into it. So we actually find out that Days Gone doesn't require, like we heard last week, 500 hours to play. It actually requires 20. So that's a bit of a relief. Everybody was calling a BS on whatever dev said that it can't be. Like, even if you want to spectate like every, particle of grass or every pixel in the game, yeah, you might need 500 hours, but that's just too much. It might be a huge game, but I don't know. So let's find out what they say. So it says here that Dying Light 2 Stay Human is going to be a big game, but there's been some confusion lately, and we know about it. Initially thought to be at least 500 hours for fully completing the game, the developer then clarified that this was for experiencing everything, like I said, probably every pixel, all endings, dialogue choices, and so on. Completing the main story and all side quests would take less than 100 hours, which is more realistic, in my opinion. Well, that's what I thought anyway. 100 hours is basic for, open world game or, open map. Anyway, in a new tweet, the development team has clarified that the main story takes 20 hours to complete, which is, as I said, like every game. Finishing the main story and all side quests would take 80 hours. The 500-hour mark for experiencing everything still stands though. We shall see. I bet you there's going to be somebody out there in the internet actually trying to prove a point that it's not going to take 500 hours to experience everything, but probably if that happens to be true and they prove the devs wrong, or, the company, then they're going to come out saying, yeah, but there's still loads to discover that you haven't discovered. So it's going to be a bit of a backwards and forward, but I bet you somebody's going to try to do the 500-hour mark. 100%. But then they went on to saying on their official Twitter page, we want to clarify our recent communication about the amount of hours required to complete the game. Dying Light 2 Stay Human is designed for players with different gameplay styles and preferences to explore the world how they see fit. I guess, but even to get all the collectibles, because for everybody that wants to experience the game, like you would want, 100% completion, you would want to collect the collectibles and do all side quests and whatever it requires to do. I still don't think it would add up to 500 hours for this type of game. I feel like somebody in Rust or, Minecraft could put in 500 hours because it's like a survival continuation type of game, and this one is not. So what do you guys think about it? Do you think it's realistic 500 hours? I think 100 is pretty close to it anyway, especially with how people play nowadays. They do speedruns and all that, so who knows. But next on our list, we have rumor February state of play coming. Hogwarts Legacy updates likely to come with it, which I personally am very excited about, just because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Who isn't? Probably people that grew up in Christian, not to judge, but to people who grew up in Christian households and weren't allowed to watch it, because I heard recently that was a thing. Because it's considered like witchery or wizardry, parents wouldn't allow kids to watch it because of that, it just blew my mind. Anyway, fantastic series. I'm super excited to see, because I saw the trailer recently when it came out and it looked amazing. But it says here, PlayStation is due to have a state of play sometime soon to kick off the new year. In fact, it's already starting to make the rounds that one will be happening soon, as in less than a month from now. So I've heard that it's February 3rd, which states here as well. And it's coming from a pretty reliable source. Like in the past, he was an insider for a lot of things happening with PlayStation, and whatever he said ended up being true. So this guy, Tom Henderson, took to his YouTube channel to further discuss rumors he relayed on Twitter regarding a new state of play that he believes to be set on February 3rd, 2022. The main reason this next event could potentially be a very big state of play is Hogwarts Legacy. Sony does states of plays, or state of plays, whatever the plural is, but I feel like the indie game ones, no shade to them, but they don't do well at all. because nobody's interested. So in them saying that it's a big state of play, it's probably a couple of indies, and if they just throw in Hogwarts Legacy as the main big one, which I'm gonna presume that is gonna be the case. And not only that, but they're probably gonna talk a bit more about Horizon just because it's gonna come out or mid-February, something like that. So right, let's continue on. We've gotten some great looking CG trailers for the game so far, but that's been it up until now. There's also the matter of a release date, which would be great to learn sooner than later. Henderson also talks about the potential for another gameplay showcase of Horizon Forbidden West. Exactly what I said. Which ultimately wouldn't be surprising with the game releasing weeks later. There's also Sifu, set to come out next month, which honestly, it's not my type of game. If it's yours, great, but I just am not excited about that. Which would happen days after the state of play if it's in February 3rd. On February 3rd, sorry. On top of all that, Gran Turismo 7 releases in March. Again, great if you're a fan. I am not. Needless to say, there are a lot of games releasing soon for PS5 and PS4 that Sony will want to remind players about, for sure. That's exactly, right. And I think, considering the state of the world at the moment, that the fact that they can release so many games, especially in February, like there's 3 major big games coming out. Dying Light, Horizon, and Elden Ring in February. So it's clap for them. Hopefully they won't delay any of them, because I'm really excited to play all of them. Okay, next on the list we have this news article that literally, guys, when I read it, I pissed myself laughing. Because how is this a thing? LAPD officer fired for chasing Snorlax in Pokemon Go instead of robbers. Just let that sink in for a second, okay? 2 Los Angeles police officers were fired after they chose to chase a Snorlax in Pokemon Go instead of helping stop a robbery in progress at a local mall. Now, if you know anything about police, they sit in their cars sometimes and they get a call through the police, obviously, station thing, and whoever's the closest needs to pick it up. So I presume these guys just didn't choose to. So let's see what else says, because as a Pokemon Go player, I understand, so I connect on some level, but at the end of the day, you have to choose duty over a fucking game, As reported by Vice and detained in court documents, former LAPD officer Luis Lozano and Eric Mitchell were on FEB patrol on April 15, 2017. So this happened a while ago. I just found out about it now, and it just blew my mind. When a robbery at the Macy's and Crenshaw Mall was taking place, calls began going out to police in the vicinity to respond, and some, like a unit that was at a homicide crime scene, rushed over to the mall. Oh, okay, but they didn't. Lozano and Mitchell, on the other hand, ignored the call at first, and then responded with a simple no when asked again. Blows my mind. As it turns out, they willingly failed to respond to the robbery call and attempted to conceal the fact. Of course, why would they admit to it? By saying they were somewhere other than where they actually were. But I think they can pinpoint the exact location somehow. I'm not sure, but I think so. After listening to the recording in Lozano and Mitchell's police car, the LAPD also discovered they were playing Pokemon Go on the day of the robbery. Surprise, surprise. Okay, now, this was the best part. The recording showed that approximately 6:09 p.m., just 5 minutes after Officer Lozano said screw it to check in with communication about the robbery call, Officer Mitchell altered Lozano that Snorlax, alerted, lol, that a Snorlax just popped up at whatever street, the court documents read. For approximately the next 20 minutes, the DICS captured petitioners discussing Pokemon as they drove to different locations where their virtual creatures apparently appeared on their mobile phones. On their way to the Snorlax location, Officer Mitchell alerted Officer Lozano that a Togetic just popped up. Nothing, it was on Crenshaw, just south of 50th. I don't know the street names, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering however they're called. After Mitchell apparently caught the Snorlax, exclaiming, "Got him!" Petitioners agreed to go get the Togetic and drove off. So ignoring completely that they were close to where the crime scene was, and they just drove off. She fucked up. This just, oh my god. Very interesting. I don't know. After successfully catching the Togetic, after Lozano buried it and Ultra Balled it. Could you imagine? This is in a court document. They decided to return to a 7-Eleven to end their watch. What a great way, right? Later, they would lie about playing the game and even said they were merely having a conversation about Pokemon Go, and that they were capturing an image of a Pokemon on a tracking app, which is technically correct, I want to say. They were charged with multiple counts of on-duty misconduct and fired, and would later try to appeal their case by saying they weren't aware of the conversation were being recorded, and of course they would say that. And that their words should be considered private, which I agree. That's very intrusive in a way. It's like, I mean, people complain that they don't want to get the vaccines. I know it's a very, off topic or, hot topic at the moment, because they think you have device, a GPS device in the vaccine or whatever. Don't ask. I just heard that. I am not on that side of people that believe that. Trust me. Because you flipping have your mobile phone next to you 24/7. It records anything. Say something now to it. Go on Instagram 5 minutes later. The ads that relating to what you were saying are on there. So no, I don't believe for 1 second that we have GPS in the vaccine, because the GPS is with us at all times anyway. So it's just stupid. So I agree, about conversation having to be private, but nowadays nothing is private, so that doesn't surprise me. But that was the news for Pokemon Go, which blew my mind. Literally drank my coffee this morning and I literally pissed myself laughing. Anyway, last but not least, we have Days Gone director gives more details on the rejected sequel. Now, I found this really interesting, and I am a very huge fan of Days Gone, purely because I played the game when it came out, and I enjoyed it so much so that when it finished, and this didn't happen to a lot of games with me, but when I finished it, like 100% completed, I got the platinum for it. I felt like this void that I couldn't fill with any other game in me. And it only happened with Red Dead Redemption 2 when I completed that one. And so this for me tells how much I enjoy it. So I am gutted that Sony rejected the sequel for the game, just because I thought, with O'Brien transforming, spoiler if you haven't played it, sorry. With O'Brien transforming at the end, how he did, and how the story was left off, it had a huge potential for the sequel, a huge potential. But as we know, Ross accused Sony last week of making Bend Studios feel like Days Gone was a big disappointment. And they did say that, despite it selling around 10 million copies today, which is huge. He made the claim on Twitter following Wednesday's announcement that fellow PlayStation exclusive Ghost of Tsushima has now sold 8 million copies. And it's a bit weird. Like, why didn't they want more? I mean, I guess it was a bit glitchy when it first came out. I'm not gonna lie, it did have a few problems. So probably Sony was just thinking like long term. They didn't want to be associated maybe with a studio or this game in particular that was so buggy at the beginning, because Sony has its name on the line. So it does make sense in that aspect, but still they're sold more copies than Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima was great as well, but when I finished it, I didn't feel that void dissipating. Or not dissipating, that void remaining. So yeah, but we have some more information, obviously. Jeff Ross, who left Bend Studios in 2022 after some 20 years at the company, told US Today that the sequel was going to be the definitive edition of the Days Gone concept. And that would mean he didn't have to necessarily apologize for so much. I don't know what he wanted to say about that, but he kind of blamed us, the buyers. I remember in the beginning saying that I bought it full price, full disclaimer, but people waited until it was reduced, and apparently that's when the bulk of the sales went. So apparently if people would have bought it full price, it would have been a different story, but I just really don't think that's the case. According to Ross, the game would continue to follow the story of protagonist Deacon and his partner Sarah. Yeah, they're back together, he says, but maybe they're not happy. Well, what can we do with that? Okay, we were married before the apocalypse, but what about the future? Which is, you know, I just wish at least come out with a book or a movie or something, you know, because the story was great, even though it was generic zombie things. But yeah, the story, I found it great anyway. Ross also said the sequel was going to give the player more tools to play with following Deacon's acquisition of tech owned by Nero in the first game. That sounds cool. Because you can only upgrade really your bike and stuff like that. I don't even think you could have upgraded guns. Maybe you could have. No, I don't think you could. So it was just a bit disappointing in that aspect because, I mean, I didn't care for the bike personally, but you had to get the trophies. We would have kept the heavy, strong narrative, he said. We would have kept the bike, obviously, and I think we would have expanded the tone a little bit in a more technical direction, kind of like, alright, now we have all this neurotech, what can we do with them? The tone would have expanded one ring outwards towards some of the new reality. I think this would have been a bit more, I don't want to say Avengers, but something where the player had resources, he had some sort of remnants of whatever the government had, blah blah blah. And I know he went on to say that Deacon would have learned how to swim in this one because he didn't swim in the previous one. I think he would die in water or something like that, and then, you know, people challenge them saying, oh, how come he can't swim underwater if, you know, why can he, because he made a point that he can only swim above the surface. And they said, well, you know, you need to take baby steps. Like in Uncharted 1, you could swim on the surface, and then progressively until Uncharted 4, then you could dive. So he gave that example, which I think it's a bit wrong, purely because we are in 2022. You have all these tools that you could do. So why not just go straight in and diving? Maybe it would require more people in terms of resources, maybe more money involved, obviously, in the process. But at the end of the day, every game now has swimming and diving in it. And I feel like they would have been a bit left behind in that term. So I don't think he was right into saying that, oh yeah, in Days Gone 2, he could have swam. But that's it. But that's all I heard. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. Don't know what to make of it, but I thought all the news were cool. And I'm gonna keep going with the news. Hope you guys enjoyed them as well. Leave a comment down below on what you think about everything that I discussed in this video, because I want to know your opinion, especially on Days Gone and Dying Light. Tell me if it's a bit realistic or to do 100 hours instead of 500, because I think it's very realistic. But leave me your opinions and I shall reply to them, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.